What's up, YouTubes? Stop the bouncing phone. I think I made it worse. I think I did. I did make it worse. Turn my truck off. Alright, so I was rolling through the agricultural station at the Florida border. Same thing you have to do, I guess, if you go through California. But I got to thinking, like, why do flatbeds have to go through the stupid agricultural check, especially if we're untarped? But even if we are tarped, most flatbeds are carrying stuff like building materials and lumber and steel. It's not agricultural. It's not food or livestock. Why do we have to stop at the agricultural stop station? In 2 years of driving, I've always been waved right through. That's it. I've never had to stop for anything there. I don't understand why I have to go through it. And I'm scared to not do it because I feel like some cop or DOT officer will come after me. Anyway, that's my question of the day. I got a little bit of a list. This isn't rants. I'm not going to rant like I did yesterday. I can't post this till tomorrow because I'm parked in Lake City, Florida. I don't really have a good signal here. So really all I can do is watch movies or play offline video games. That's usually what I do when I come here. Anyway, I got to thinking, since it was a flatbed thing, I got to thinking, like, I've never really made a video about flatbed trucking. Like, not load securement, but what you might not, I guess what you should expect in flatbed trucking. And this isn't going to be everything, because I can't think of everything. So if you're a flatbedder and you think of something, maybe you can comment, let other people know if they read. And I know not a lot of people watch this channel yet. I guess at some point. The channel is growing slowly, but I wasn't posting forever, but I am now. Anyway, I guess this is pretty much like what you should expect in flatbed trucking. Some of it you might not expect, but you should, after this video at least. These are things that, I found to be kind of annoying, or actually, yeah, this is pretty much mostly stuff that's annoying about flatbed trucking. But first up is load securement is a huge deal. When you're in orientation and if you just started, if you've been working, whatever, you have not seen it all. Unless you've been a flatbedder for like 10, 15 years, you haven't seen it all. You will get something new on your trailer all the time that you will look at and say, how in the hell do I secure this? With this current company, I'm usually just hauling like shingles or crates or lumber, so it's usually pretty easy and quick. But with Melton, I had some crazy shit, crazy stuff. So load security, you've always got to take into account if you have everything secured properly. I know that sounds dumb and cliche, but yeah, you got to make sure everything's strapped down right. And that'll come into another point I have later. Take your time and make sure everything's strapped down right. And your tarping, you'll learn tarping. Tarping is not that hard, but it can be annoying. Tarping has its own section in this video. But load securement is a big deal, not only because you need to make sure everything's secured and you won't damage the freight and it won't fall off, but also your life is at stake with a lot of this stuff. I've had numerous times when I had lumber. Lumber can slide. And if you don't have it strapped down super tight, super tight, it will slide if you had to slam on the brakes. You will get brake checkers that'll cut you off for no reason and slam on the brakes. And you'll hit the brake and your lumber will slide. Since it's lumber, it's most likely not going to go very far. I had a load go like a couple of feet one time. That was, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay. But, it didn't go over the trailer or anything. I just had to restrap some stuff. But with flat steel and coils, steel coils and flat steel, oh my God, make sure you take the time to strap it down and secure it and chain it properly. You will die if that stuff comes loose. There's a guy who got cut off by a pickup truck, flatbedder. Pickup truck was trying to take an exit, slammed on the brakes. Truck hit the brakes, and this flat steel slid right through all the straps. Shouldn't have been strapping it down. If you've ever carried flat steel, you chain that stuff, and then you chain across the front in an X shape so it doesn't slide forward. This guy didn't do that, and the flat steel slid forward right through the cab, killed him. And that was last year, I think. not long after I started melting, carrying flat steel. And I was like, oh, I'll do my stuff right from now on. Coils, obviously, if the chain breaks on a coil or if it comes loose, it's going right through your cab. And that's 40,000 pounds. Strap your stuff down right. You will work in the element. Work in the elements. It's going to be plenty of days when you're working in the rain, and it sucks. Working in the rain sucks. It's horrible. It's way more work. Everything gets heavier. The straps get heavier. You get heavier. Your clothes get heavier. And obviously you got rain running down your face. It sucks. Working in the rain sucks. Securing the load. Folding a tarp. Oh, we'll come back to tarping. I'm saving tarping. But, you'll work in blizzards. I haven't worked in a blizzard, but I've worked in negative 15 degrees in Minnesota. It's not that bad. I prefer cold to heat. But yeah, when it's that cold and you're working in flatbed trucking, you're securing a load, your straps will be a little stiff, but it's not that bad because you keep keeping warm if you're working. So cold's not that bad, but a blizzard sucks because it's windy. And wind can throw your straps all over the place. It's annoying. But yeah, you'll work out in the element. It'll be rainy and hot and cold and snowing. I mean, you're gonna work in that stuff, depending on where you're at in the country. I've done it all. It's usually not that bad, but it can get annoying. You will work in dirt and mud. If you're flatbed, you're going to deliver to construction sites a lot. And every construction site you deliver to is just going to be just a mud puddle. It's a gigantic mud puddle with everything in a freaking way. You're going to get it all over your shoes. You're going to get it all over your tarps. You're going to get it all over your straps. And it sucks. It's so annoying. But you got to deal with it. I hate it. But you just have to do it. And it's probably going to get in your truck. My truck's pretty dirty on the floor right now because I had a pretty dirty place last couple days. I just haven't swept it out yet. But yeah, I mean, you have to keep your truck clean. Keep yourself as clean as possible, but some days you can't really help it. That's another thing about... Should I save that for later? I'll save that for later. Shippers love to load you to the max, and I mean by weight. Legally, you're 80,000 pounds. If you touch 80,000 pounds, you might get a ticket. They'll find a way to give you a ticket if you've touched 80,000 pounds. You need to be under 80,000. These shippers, especially with lumber, will load you down to within like a freaking ounce of that 80,000 pounds. You need to go to the cat scale every time you get loaded. Right now my load's like under 70,000. It surprised me. It's actually light. For what I pick up, normally it's light and it's lumber. But I expected it to be a lot more because typically I'm between 78,000 to 79,500. Yeah, every time. We have APUs on the truck, so I get an APU exemption if I'm over 80,000, but I try my best to not get that far up. They will load you, and you need to go to the scale as soon as possible. If you're touching 80,000 and you don't have an APU exemption, you go back, tell them, take one of these things off. They're going to have to do it. They might give you pushback, complain about it, but they got to do it. You got to be legal. You will get a ticket, because my next point, the DOT loves to pick on flatbedders. You will get pulled into the weigh stations over and over and over and over as a flatbedder because they know you're heavy. They know your load is secured. And since you had to secure a load, that's about 100 more things that they can check to give you a ticket for. And you're heavy, they could probably catch you for being heavy. Secure your load correctly and make sure you're underweight because the DOT will pick on you. I've gotten an overweight ticket here in Florida, outside Tampa, towards Park City, Florida. I pick up there a lot. I got loaded heavy there one time, and I went across the scale, and I was like 300 pounds too heavy. And I went back over. They said, "How was the scale?" I said, "It was about 300 pounds over, but I have an APU exemption, so I'm good." At least so I thought. So I went to the next scale is like 10 miles away, but it's 2 miles past the weigh station on Interstate 4. So I had to go across the weigh station to get to the scale. I got a ticket. I got a scale ticket. It wasn't bad. It was like $60, but they would not take my APU exemption. They were supposed to. I said, hey, I have an APU exemption. Oh, you can challenge that when you get the ticket, or when you start to pay the ticket or turn it in your company. So I did that. No, I had to pay it. You need to argue with the weigh guys at some point if you got an APU exemption. But that goes back to keep yourself under 80,000. You won't have to worry about it. All right. Spread axles are not as easy to back or turn sharply as like a normal dry van or reefer, because the axles on a dry van and reefer are right here together. On a spread axle, they're apart, obviously. So when you're turning, that front axle on your trailer is going to be dragging. If you're not loaded, it's not really that much of a big deal unless it catches on something like a curb. Don't do that. Just make sure you know what you're doing. But if you're loaded, especially heavy, and that wheel starts dragging, you can break all kinds of stuff. You can actually tear your tire to pieces. You can pull your tire apart. It'll come off the wheel. You can break air lines, I think. I'm not sure. I have never done that, actually. But I've had it back pretty sharply a couple times with a loaded trailer, or make a U-turn with a loaded trailer in like a tight spot. It's not pretty. It'll start leaning. If you got a high load and you start to take a turn real sharp with a spread axle, you run the risk of flipping your truck. I guarantee you might flip your truck. Don't do it. You got to learn to back and give yourself enough space. Like if I'm driving a spread axle and I'm coming into a truck stop, I usually won't try to back into a space, a single space. If like in between two trucks, I usually won't try to do it. I will try my best to find a spot that has two spaces. I can get into a single space if I have to, but if I've got to have enough room, because I can't turn this thing that sharp. I've done it before. I don't like doing it because it can, like I said, it can tear up your tires. But yeah, you just gotta remember to give yourself extra space with a spread axle, which is more than likely what you're gonna have if you're flatbed. I've step deck trailers, a little bit different, because you can put your axles together with a step deck. But if you do that, it rides rougher. From what I took a step deck all the way from South Carolina to California when I was with Milton, and I almost got whiplash. That was a horrible trip. It is horrible. A step deck with the axles together is a rough ride. Just remember that. Probably won't be doing a step deck too much. You don't actually see a lot of those on the road. But speaking of which, backing, you better know how to back, because you will go into, like I said, these construction sites. There are going to be spots where you're going to look at it and be like, how in the hell do I do this? And it's like a puzzle figuring out how to back into these places and get out, and to get unloaded. And it's not just because it's tight or full of mud and you might get stuck, but they're going to have all their construction equipment and their building supplies in the way, and you're going to have to weave in and out of this stuff. I was telling a friend of mine today, a couple friends of mine that actually team truck. I think they lease a truck, but they team drive together and make pretty good money. They're talking about how this crazy backing situation they had in high school, but I think they're drive-in. I was like, well, I'm flatbed, and I had to go to a construction site in San Jose, California, right when I started Milton. And I went to San Jose, California, right outside of San Francisco, at this big, fancy, expensive mall they were building an extra wing to, and it was an open mall with a construction site attached to it. And I had to back through the open mall with people walking around and everything, and like methodically back and weave through this open mall. It took 7 hours to get unloaded in that place. It was a nightmare. That's flatbed trucking. Like I already said, DOT likes to pick on you. If you like to drive at night, you're probably not going to get to do that much. Like I start driving like 4 a.m. every once in a while to get done earlier in the day or get to where I need to go on time. So that's about as far as night driving I'll go. Right now it's winter, so it's getting dark at like 5 o'clock. So yeah, night driving. I just stopped at 9 o'clock, so driving night. But as far as like midnight, early wee hours in the morning, 1 a.m., you're probably not going to do too much of that, because Flatbed, typically you're going to pick up or drop off between 8 in the morning and 4 in the evening. That's it. Most of these places are not overnight places. You're not going to warehouses a lot of the time. You're going to open lots with people that work normal daytime hours. If you go there any other time, they're more than likely not going to unload you. Except in the Northeast. In the Northeast, I've ran into a few places where they wanted to load me at like midnight, and I'm just like, oh my God. And that's not great, because I know that I'm going to have to split my hours around by the time I drop off where I'm going, which is going to be a construction site in the middle of freaking nowhere, and they're not going to be there till like 8 o'clock in the morning. So you got to think about that. You know, most of the time you're not going to be night driving. So if you like night driving, you got to hang that up. If you want to be a flatbedder, it's going to be daytime and traffic. Oh, traffic. Alright, so yeah, this last bit. Tarping. Tarping gets its own damn section, because tarping sucks. Tarping is the worst part of the job. I knew I was going to be tarping. I don't want to hear anybody complain down in the comments talking about, oh, what did you think flatbed trucking was? It tarp. Yeah, I know I was going to be tarping. But it's okay to complain about tarping, because if you have ever tried to tarp in the wind, oh my God, you know how terrible it can be to tarp in the wind. Because tarps are sails. And what do sails do in the wind? They sail. And it's not that bad if you're tarping a load that you can get on and off of pretty easily. If it's a little bit windy, typically I'll put my back tarp on first, and I'll jump off as fast as I can, and I'll put a couple bungees down to hold that damn tarp in place. Sometimes you don't get to do that because it's so windy, and that tarp blows right off. I was in Illinois one time, and I had a high load that I had to load the tarps on in the warehouse. And to drive out of the warehouse to finish bungeeing my tarp, put the bungees on. Also, you got to be careful about the bungees. They will snap and they'll hit you in the face. So you got to be careful with that too. But anyway, as far as the bungees, I got the tarps out of there. I was getting ready to bungee. I had a few bungees on there to hold them on. And as soon as I parked and got out of the truck in Illinois, there was like a 50-mile-per-hour gust of wind out of nowhere and blew both my tarps off of this damn load into the mud. And then it started snowing. I was like, I made up curse words that day. I made up curse words that even Satan himself cringed at. And thank God there was a guy there, and he just gotten done tarping, and he saw what I was going through, and he was like, he felt bad, so he helped me fold my tarps. I had to fold my tarps again. I was like, thanks, man. Threw my tarps back on the truck, went back to the warehouse, put them back on there, and thankfully they weren't as busy as they were before. They let me stay in there and bunch down. But that's why wind sucks. I hate wind. Wind sucks when you're tarping. And when you're folding the tarps and it's windy, dude, it's like a freaking CrossFit match to freaking fold your damn tarp because of the wind. You fold one side, you got to run down the other end, fold that, make sure it's straight, but the wind blows it off again, and now it's all fucked up and wrinkly and stupid. You can't fold it. And you got to fold them the right way or you're not getting them in the truck. So, wind sucks. The heat. I hate the heat the most. I hate the heat. I can't stand it. I hate the heat. I hate the humidity. I only drive in the southeast right now, so it's freaking always hot and humid. And actually putting the tarps on in the heat isn't that bad. It's not that bad. But folding the tarp, for some reason, when you're folding the tarp and you got to bend down close to the ground and you're in these hot parking lots, in a parking lot, the heat can actually be about 10 to 20 degrees hotter because it's just concrete. So when you're folding and you're working at 100 degrees, heat index in a parking lot can be like 120, and you're folding a tarp in it. It sucks. If you've never done it, wait till you do. It sucks. Tarping in the rain, your tarp's going to get heavier. If you're undoing the tarp and put the tarp on, again, it's not that bad. But if you are folding a tarp in the rain, that tarp's going to be like, I swear, 15, 20 pounds heavier. You're already like 100 pounds. When you go to put that tarp on that trailer or strap it down or put it in a box, you're going to realize how heavy it is. Don't give yourself a hernia. If it's raining, just lift with care because it sucks. Tarping sucks. there's some loads you'll get, like I pick up out of Park City, like I said before. Those loads have sharp edges. They will shred your tarps. Shred your tarps. With Melton, I picked up railing, like steel railing a lot. They basically look like bed rails with these sharp, jagged edges on them. I picked up one of those somewhere in the Midwest. I can't remember exactly where. And I got about 40 miles down the road. There was a hole in my tarp you could walk through. So that tarp's ruined. And I mean, you little holes you can patch. When I worked in Melton, they gave us a little, like a piece of extra tarp and some glue, like tarp glue. I don't know what it is, like something. But we could patch the tarps if it was a small hole. But a big hole, you got to get the tarp replaced. Melton wouldn't charge you to replace a tarp unless you just kept messing up tarps. But the current company I'm with actually do. I think they do charge for tarps. I had to pay $50 to replace my tarp. Technically, if you have to replace a tarp because of a hole in it, it's kind of your fault. You should have, as a flatbedder, you should have extra padding in the form of like little quilts or rubber mats that you can find in some shippers and take for free to pad these extra edges that you know are going to mess up your tarps. But I just don't with this company because I rarely pick up stuff like that. But that bit me in the butt. I ended up having to pay $50 for a tarp this week. Whatever. I mean, that's fine because if you go to some shippers with messed up tarps, they won't let you pick up. They won't give you the load if you got messed up tarps because you got to keep that stuff dry. So, but yeah, sometimes the tarping is tarping's the worst part of the job. I'm not a fan. I think that's it. That's all for this little episode. I didn't mean for this one to be 20-something minutes long, but I guess most of them are. I think my next video is I'm making a top 5 list of fast food burgers you can find on the road. Something simple and fun. That wasn't a rant video. I didn't mean it to be so negative. It's not that negative. Flatbed's not that bad. You'll only run into that stuff every once in a while. But when you do, it sucks. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to be moving out to the Southwest within the next couple years. And I 100% am not going to be doing flatbed in that heat. I'll probably be working out of Phoenix a lot. I'm not doing flatbed. I'm going to dry van or reefer, and I'm looking more at dry van, but that's a little while from now. So it's going to be flatbed from here on for a little while. I do enjoy flatbed. You stay in shape. You will stay in shape. If you like to do, I tell people, don't do CrossFit, do flatbed. That's how tough it is. It'll kick your butt when you first start, but you'll get used to it. As long as you're safe and you're getting on and off the trailer properly, and you'll learn all that in the orientation. Especially if you're with Melton. Melton has a really good orientation. They teach you how to secure loads real properly and whatnot. This company, it required 6 months of flatbed, I think, so I didn't really have training. They just made sure I knew what I was doing and I was gone. But also, I did flatbed in the Army for like 12 years. Mostly flatbed. But that was way different. You know, we didn't have as much stuff to secure. It was basically chains, and we were carrying Humvees and stuff like that. And I did some heavy haul, all tanks. Yeah, tanks. Like, tanks. Like the Abrams tanks for a while with what we call a het. You can look up a het. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's this gigantic bastard of a truck. But it was cool. It was cool. I've done flatbed for a long time. I guess if you got any questions down in the comments, ask a question. If you got something you've run into, like a weird load, let me know. If you got questions about, what you might run into in a flatbed that I didn't mention or you've run into before, let me know. Have a good one. I'm going to eat some food and play video games.